Future of Jazz, and I am joined by a good friend of the Future of Jazz this morning, Denny Jiosa, one of the finest guitar players we have here in Music City. Fortunate that he is here in Music City, spreading the Music City sound throughout the world. And as we all know, that if you listen to this station, there is so much more in this town than what it is known for. And good morning and welcome to the show, Denny, today.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we go back. That's the crazy part when I go back and look at how long we have talked music together. And I am now coming up on my 20th year of doing this show here in town.
Yeah.
And you were there in the very early days when I started the Future of Jazz. And, one of the things I got from you was, in the beginning, I liked your influences. I liked the music that you related to, and you always took it as a challenge to be different than the cookie box that's out there. So from this end, it's appreciated, and so this past week we lost Jeff Beck, and a lot of listeners know that I went through some major knee replacement surgery a week and a half ago, and still struggling with the vocal cords and all that. But anyways, I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning and just trying to get through a pain episode, let's just say. And I started thinking about Jeff Beck. What does he mean? What did he mean to me? I was a 16-year-old kid with Blow by Blow on vinyl, studying to it. And you were talking about the influences of Jeff Beck on your music. And I used to hear you always talk about it, but I never really let it compute in my head until a couple nights ago or mornings ago, I'm laying around and going, we lost Jeff Beck. Denny Jiosa. That's all I ever heard him talk about. In your studio, you would talk about the influences of his music on you. So here we are. I'm at 5 o'clock in the morning sending Denny an email going, hey, you think we can pull this off? And it went back and forth, and we all talked about our old men diseases we have right now, aching bones and all. Can we pull it off?
Maybe you do, Chris.
Yeah, that's not the phone call I got last night. But anyways, so go ahead and talk about Jeff and what he meant to you.
Well, needless to say, like most of the world that he influenced, I was devastated when I heard this news because, when you look at Jeff on stage, he's so vibrant, even at, he was 78, right? He was so vibrant and in good shape, always still wearing the vest and showing off his guns. And, and they're like, man, that guy looks great. How old is he, and jumping around on stage. But the biggest thing that got me, I've gone to see him many times and was fortunate to meet him. And that was a big day for me, It was a big day. But
was that the Ryman show?
That was the Ryman show. Yeah.
There's a great picture up on the XNA social medias right now, as well as I'm sure Denny's got it on his as well. That picture that we're mentioning there.
Yeah. But just the enthusiasm and joy that you would see in his face on every note he played. He was always smiling at the musicians. No one ever said a bad word about Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
But the influence he had, much like you, when I started playing guitar many years ago, for some reason I was a kid and I was a geek and I loved jazz even at 12 years old, right? I started playing at 7 and I'm learning the whole Bobby Hebb story, that with Sonny.
Yeah.
But when I heard Blow by Blow, it changed my life. It really did. As a player, I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that people would listen to this kind of music with some jazz changes, some jazz phrasing, and a rock sound. And it wasn't fusion, really. It was just, you can't hardly explain what he was capable of doing with that guitar and using the whammy bar and his technique of no pick. I posted, I don't know if you saw, I posted a pick that said this pick belongs to Jeff Beck that he gave me, and everybody goes, well, he doesn't use a pick. And I'm going, yeah, no kidding, that's the joke. It's like,
you better know your music.
Oh boy, I'm telling you.
Well, I think that's what impressed me so much about him as an artist is that one CD or one album, Blow by Blow, not only did it influence the jazz world, but the rock world, the punk world. I mean, I started digging in and going, holy cow. And just musically, what has been done this week on this station with the different genres that we feature here throughout the course of the week. Last night, Scotty on the Rock and Roll High School, which is a lot of 90s and 80s rock that he plays, was playing Blow by Blow again. Yeah. So, he encompassed everything and brought it, and everybody learned from it.
The song that literally brings tears to my eyes is "'Cause We Ended as Lovers." I know you've played that already, but
we're going to play that again.
But I, I'll go on and I listen to him at Ronnie Scott's, and I listen to him at these other live concerts, and whenever he does that song, he does it slightly different every time, which is the beauty of that. It's not a formula, it's music. Let's play it. He would change up musicians. One show I went to see, he had a cellist. It was a trio of a band, bass, drums, and him, and a cellist. And she was doing some MIDI things on the cello and stuff. It was just awesome, and he wasn't afraid to explore. Even at his age, he didn't fall back on the same old thing. He would explore the instrument and music in general, which is what music is about,
So Denny and I have gotten on air many times and talked about his music, and one of the neat things we always like to do is we've done it in the past where Denny would play out of some of the music we were playing and put his spin on it. We're not going to go down that route today. We're going to celebrate Jeff's music the way it was recorded, and we got a lot I want to get to. I want you to take over the airwaves here and let's mixing it up. So your first track you got picked for us to listen to today.
Freeway Jam. It was, to me, he still would do that live. That was a song that stood the test of time, and, it's just fantastic. So.
1975, this is off the Blow by Blow release. Again, Jeff Beck and Freeway Jam. Member-supported, people-powered, 101.5 WXNA. Joined in the studio this morning with Nashville's own contemporary jazz guitarist, good friend of the future of jazz, Denny Jiosa. This morning we're discussing the life and music of Jeff Beck, who we sadly lost this past week. Caught me by surprise. There's been a few lately that have caught me by surprise, but this one, I think the whole that it influences being, again, we were talking earlier, not only just the jazz, but the rock. I mean, he's associated with some punk rock out there I was looking at, to the Rolling Stones, to Rod Stewart. It's crazy. Yeah, so we just heard the track Never Alone off of the 2010 release, Emotions and Commotion. No, I'm sorry, that's not correct. I am way behind in our tracker, so we're just gonna go ahead. What was the track we just heard? We heard "Never Alone," and right
That's
before,
what it was.
Right before that, it was
of them off blow by blow. So Freeway Jam and now see, you've got my
was
brain.
it Scatterbrain?
Scatterbrain.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So
Scatterbrain.
Glad we got that part.
We're scatterbrains right now.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So it's just we got caught up. Basically, we just got caught up in the music of Jeff Beck there.
We did, yeah.
And
talking,
just his influence on the music community as a whole. Let me take care of a few announcements real quick. Support for WXNA comes from Rudy's Jazz Room, Music City's late-night jazz club located in the Gulch. Rudy's Jazz Room features live jazz 6 nights a week in an intimate speakeasy setting with classic Prohibition cocktails, local brews, and New Orleans cuisine. Showtimes and more information can be found by heading over to rudysjazzroom.com. And for spiritually powerful music, tune in to Musical Mysticisms Wednesday afternoon at 4 as Nexus brings you music from various genres and words from the great mystics. That's Musical Mysticisms Wednesdays at 4 only on WXNA 101.5 FM and, of course, streaming everywhere at WXNAFM.org. So let's get back to the important stuff. If you're just joining us, this whole thing came together a couple of days ago. Reached out to Denny. I said, man, known you for almost 20 years now, and there's one person that has influenced your life and your music that I've always heard loud and clear and never put much thought to it until he passed away, was Jeff Beck. So I don't know what you wanted to add to what we had just heard there.
Well, what I would add is, again, to me, music is, it shouldn't be necessarily technical. We have to learn the technical side before we can emote, but it's about emotion. It's about expression. It's about making people feel something. And anytime I listen to him, I feel something like that Never Alone that you just played. You just listen to the technique of that man, how he approached the guitar with his fingers, no pick, his fingers, and it was orchestral almost. It was like a voice. It was like a voice singing. It's just beautiful. It's so emotional. It's like I just can't even hardly talk about it. But it's really awesome.
No, because I'm sitting here going, this is where we went sideways, and I wasn't doing my job on this end. Is because you were talking about the technique and just the way. I mean, you want to see a guitar player melt, sit in a radio station on some nice equipment and watch Jeff Beck being played and having a fine guitarist like Denny Jiosa sitting next to you, just melting over the music that he was playing right there.
Yeah. It was. That's the influence he had with me, and I'm an emotional player when I play, and you have to dig deep, and the music can overcome you and take you. When I went to see him live, I would sit there with tears in my eyes at times with hearing him play. It was so captivating.
Yeah, it's a lot of the stuff out there can sound the same. And, my kids are always blown away that there'll be a jazz track will come on somewhere and I know what it is. And and they're like, how do you know that there's no vocals? But you identify the vocal as the guitar is the voice or whatever. And there's a lot of guitar that sounds the same. But you have a signature style, and as well as Jeff Beck having his own style. And I don't know, how do you create that? Is that just what comes naturally, or is it influences? Or to have your signature style, and that to me, that I'm making a big statement there.
That is a big statement, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
I've been told that a lot, and I don't say that from a boastful. I'm thankful for everything I've been able to do, but I don't think, Chris, it's something that can be taught. I teach as well, as you know, and students will ask me about that. I'm going, you have to dig so deep to find that, and I just don't know that that's something that you just can't write a book about. This is how you play emotional. This is how you get in touch with the spirit of music. You cannot teach that. You have to find that. Yeah, and I think that comes from listening to other people that that move you. If you're moved by music or by a player, whether it be a vocalist or a guitarist or a piano player, you have to listen. But some people, I'm just going to tell you, never find that.
But what's so important is the arts in society, and those are the folks that catch that stuff when they see a young person out there, whether it's in a music program in school, and they identify that, and because they're the professional and they see it. I can relate to it from my eye with photography. As you know, I do photography on the side, and I had a photography teacher back in 7th grade tell my parents, you need to watch him. He's got an eye. And it's the same thing that without the arts in school, and I don't want to get on a big political rant about how we spend on schools, but that's why it's so important, is that it's there to identify people like that are in our community. Because if we're not identifying it, they're going to be like me. They never figured out how to do it and get there. And we can go on a long tangent on this, but that signature style is just amazing, because it can be a horn player, it can be a keyboardist.
Absolutely.
Everybody, the minute I hear one note, I can go, I know who that is.
Yes, and if we were to sit here and write a list, I'm not going to name names, but we could probably come up with and agree on the same players that have influenced people in that regard. I mean, I'll throw one out there. Santana is one player. Immediately you hear one note and you know it's Carlos.
Yeah.
You know it. And he is also a heart player. He just like Jeff was, different, but still emotional.
Which is going back to why I'm saying, when we have young folks out there, where are they playing from? They're playing from their heart, because that's the only thing they know to play from, and it's so important to the future of music.
It is,
and when you think of it that way. But so obviously we're sitting here talking Denny Jiosa from here in Music City. Denny's got, I don't know, what would you say?
10 records.
10 records out right now, and just an incredible catalog you have. That your influences go beyond Jeff, but we're focusing on Jeff today. And so we got the next song queued up. It's "Shame." I know I'm throwing this out to Denny, saying, "Hey, what do you want to hear next? What's going to happen next?" And this one kind of jumped out at you.
It did. I can't exactly put my finger on why, but they just do. Everybody has music, just like art or photography, whatever, that touches something inside of you, and that's what makes the world go around, right? I mean, thank God we don't all like the same thing.
Again, like when we were talking and went sideways, when you're sitting there, you're mimicking basically Jeff Beck's hand on the neck of a guitar, and just like how he barely would be touching the string or whatever to get that sound. You about brought me to tears right there, man. It was just, and it just made me realize, playing from the heart. Yeah, that connection is, it's some musicians never reach that connection, but.
Well,
Denny, it's always an education when you come down and hang out with us here at the Future of Jazz. Let's go ahead and grab this track from Jeff Beck. It's off of Loud Hailer, and this one came out back in it says 2016. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the track "Shame" on the Future of Jazz. Good morning, Music City. supported, people-powered 101.5 WXNA. If you tuned in expecting the future of jazz, well, you know the future of jazz is going to go any way we want on any given Saturday down here at the X. But we're today talking about the influence of Jeff Beck's music on musicians here in town, as well as on, Jeff Beck, the long and short of it, is definitely been a major influence on the future of jazz. It's what I cut my teeth on back in the late 70s. It was Jean Lupante, Weather Report, and Stanley Clarke and Jeff Beck. I just spent my Sunday evenings in a dorm room studying to this music. And, of course, we lost Jeff this past week, way too young, and got together with Denny Jiosa. Denny's a good longtime friend of the future of jazz. He said, hey, I know what Jeff meant to you. Do we want to spend some time and honor the man's music? And we've been doing that for the last 45 minutes or so, and we got a couple more tracks. Just heard from 1995 off the Best Of project, Beck's Bolero. Also in there, a track from Denny Jiosa off his 2008 release, Dreams Like This. Incredible project Denny, to my right, put out. Playing the track there, In the Mind's Eye. It was a track that I asked Denny. I said, give me one that Jeff influenced you the most on, and let's get that into the show. So there was Jeff's influence on Denny, and then we started that set off with Jeff Beck off of Laud Haler, and the track there, Shame. So good morning, Denny.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say one thing about that track that just played of mine. I can't say that it's one that most influenced. Overall, there's, as musicians, when we are influenced, like I love Wes Montgomery and a lot of other players, but you take bits and pieces and it ends up building the house. You understand? So there are little bits and pieces, but I have a lot of new music that's coming that is even more influential from Jeff, because I just believe in doing the music that's given me, and if that's the mood I'm in when I go in the studio to start writing, that's what I do. But at any rate,
as Denny's just smiling at me, because that means there's a lot of music to come out of Denny. Let's start to wrap things up here, and give us a synopsis of Jeff Beck, Denny Jiosa.
Thanks. I will tell you the song we're getting ready to play, which was, Jeff did a lot of cool covers too, and this is actually a Stevie Wonder track, and or song. And I don't know that Stevie ever did record the song, but Jeff sure did, and it put him on the map. Absolutely, for sure, and it is my all-time favorite of Jeff Beck. To me, this just sums up what Jeff is about. When you hear him do this song, even this older recording, right. This is the one that changed my life, Chris, when I heard it.
And one of the things I heard this past week, as I listened to tributes all around the world, I stream radio all day long, and we were talking about KXP out of Seattle, and they were playing another Jeff Beck track that he had done with Stevie Wonder. So obviously Jeff is the rabbit hole is immense if you want to take a trip down it and go down and the people that Jeff has. I got a late start trying to put this thing together. When I started looking at last night and going, I don't have enough time right now to try and pull all the music that's there that I wouldn't even want to play. And obviously I was relying on you and the influences, and this whole thing started out with how this one person, or this whole thing being today started out this morning. This one person influenced. You got two jazz guys up here right now. Well, the rock and roll guy that was on here last night was influenced by Jeff Beck, and playing Jeff's influence on him on his show. And that's the beauty of what we do here at WXNA, is the different genres that we feature throughout the course of a week. And Jeff was right there every step of the way with every genre we got. Some of it I'm sure not, but everyone listens to a good guitar player.
Yes, and Jeff, like you said, across the board has influenced every guitar player out there, I think, you know, young and old. I mean, you know, I have my son, when I told him that Jeff had passed, he's like, what? I mean, he just couldn't believe it, because you just, I don't know, like I said, he seems so vibrant on stage and everything. You just can't believe. But welcome to life, huh?
So, first off, man, this has been awesome. You moved me. Obviously, I made that real clear earlier, to the point that we screwed up in the show. But you know, you moved me just to understand music even more than I thought I did, and I really appreciate you coming down here. And just how can folks find your music out there?
My website, jiosa.com. It's JIOSA.com. And I mean, I'm everywhere on Spotify and on, you know, Amazon, all that stuff, iTunes.
Any live shows coming up in the future that you're aware of?
I'm booking for spring and summer right now, festival things. I'm trying to get a new record together, Chris. 2 of them, in fact. So,
really?
Yeah, the Ambient Monkeys thing, we're going to go back and do a second one. And that one is, maybe we can talk about that another time, but that record went to #1. Like, immediately it was released and went to #1 in the world jazz chart. I couldn't believe it. It was, and so now I also want to jump into the blues world, and it's going to be a little more rock and blues. So,
well, if you've never seen Denny perform live, I've seen a lot of your shows here in town, and what he just said there, you will catch in one show: the rock and blues, the jazz, the Ambient Monkeys side of it. So it's not just a jazz show. Denny has got a cutting edge to his music, and it's definitely worth checking out if you can catch a show here in town.
Thank you.
Man, I really appreciate Denny hanging out with us, and again, celebrating the life and music of Jeff Beck. Going to leave you with, as Denny was talking about the track, "'Cause We Ended as Lovers." Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Oh, just like I said, that's the track that did it for me, Chris. When I was a kid and I heard that, I went, oh my gosh. I mean, it brought tears to my eyes, and I'm like, I got to do this. This is what I want to do. So, and you hear him play live. He does this different every time, but still the same. And the heart is so much there. It's great.
All right, Music City, we'll catch you next week with the future of jazz. Again, 8 to 10 here on the X.
Thank you.